I'm Adriana. I'm a SoulPath Mastery Teacher and Guide, and today I thought we'd explore an intuitive tarot reading to bring some more clarity and perhaps some healing to your situation right now. Healing begins in the mind, so this reading is intended to help you shift your perspective if necessary so that you can start to move forward again. All right, the Magician just fell out. I'm going to keep that one. Ugh, come on. All right. This reading is meant to empower you. It is not meant to scare or disempower you. So please be sure that you're using this information in the most positive, constructive way possible. Okay. Okay, Seven of Swords crossed with Queen of Wands. Okay, questions about power. Yikes. Okay, this is going to be an intense one, I think. Right. Magician, you're just floating around. I don't know where you want to go. I'm turning them over now to save us some time. Okay. All right, this is the path towards sovereignty. This is the path towards taking back more control, taking back more of your power, and taking back more of your autonomy. All right, now let's get into the specifics of that. Our situation is the Seven of Swords, so there is definitely an inner conflict going on between the head and the heart, between the conscious and the subconscious. And you're in a place where you're really trying to sort out what is fact from what is fiction. If you've been in a situation where you have been gaslit, or you have been made to believe that your version of reality is not the truth, Seven of Swords can very accurately describe what you're going through. Which one is the truth? What I feel inside, what I sense inside, or what someone else outside of me tells me is the truth. That's just one example. There's something else wanting to come through. It's interesting with this card because we have this beautiful stag, and in the reflection below, down here, it's actually the feminine, because you can't see the antlers because she cut off the image. The artist cut off the image before we could see the antlers. So it's almost like the masculine is looking out, but in the reflection, he sees the subconscious feminine, or the subconscious feminine is coming up. And so, and there's a fish swimming towards the head of that female deer. And so I feel like the subconscious feminine is trying to bring you some wisdom, trying to bring you some clarity as to what your conscious masculine, what decision do I make, what action do I need to take, those kind of questions. This feminine energy is trying to bring you some clarity so you can be sure where your direction is. All right, I would like to know what is that message from the feminine. I'm going to go right into the subconscious energy because we have the Three of Swords down there. And this is heartache, it's heartbreak, it's breaking your heart open so it can love again, essentially. And the first place it needs to start loving is it. It needs to start loving itself. It needs to start loving you. And where you're confused, because we've got the Three Swords kind of out of the water in our Seven of Swords, and we've got the Three Swords piercing the heart here. The card that was crossing the Seven of Swords is the Queen of Wands. And that is your heart, your passion, your confidence, your enthusiasm for life. And that has been taken away by these Three of Swords. By situations where you were not supported, by situations where you were in fact betrayed, where someone should have either stood up for you or been kind to you, been supportive of you, been loving of you, and instead they stabbed you in the back or they took something away from you. And your heart is coming to grips with that. And I feel like the wounded feminine, I'm saying the wounded feminine because that's just it. The feminine energy has been wounded here. And this spread is all about trying to heal that initial wound to the feminine energy. And can you give me a clearer picture of what that looks like, please? Feminine energy is all about instincts, all about intuition, all about sensing what is behind the surface. And when we don't pay attention to what's behind the surface, when we don't pay attention to that sense of knowing or the clarity that our intuition has for us, and we don't listen to it, it always ends up costing us something. We always end up losing. And what you've lost here is a sense of self-respect, a sense of self-worth, because you have overridden your intuition and your instinct so many times in order to gain favor from the outside. You've given up yourself to try to get something that was never going to be there in the first place. The funny thing about external validation is that if we're seeking it, we're never going to fully get it. If we're not seeking it, we're going to totally get it. It's kind of like, I don't know if you had people like this. I'm going back to high school for this example, but you had people that no matter what they did, no matter what they wore, no matter what they thought, they just had this air of cool about them. And because they didn't care, they had this ability to not care what everyone else thought of them. So they just were themselves. And as a result, everybody not only wanted to like that person, they wanted that person to like them. I just watched the French Open, and Martina Navratilova was presenting one of the awards, and she, for me, is that coolness. She had on this crazy outfit with tennis shoes, but she was standing there just so confident, like, I don't care what you think about me. Like, you can't take your eyes off her because she is so self-possessed and self-assured. And when we want the outside to love us so much, we're coming from the fear of not being liked, and that's actually what we get back. People are actually turned off by that. Please like me, please like me. So, there's a lot of different information kind of coming up through here, but the big thing is that your feminine has been trying to talk to you. Your feminine has been saying, look, we're worth more than this. We are deserving of much more, and I don't want to make that choice. I don't like what this person is saying, or I don't want to go this direction. But habitually, we've chosen to override that feminine voice. So there's a lot of healing in your Three of Swords. I feel like there's still some more healing to do. Nine of Wands is like, you're aware of this. It's funny how we're approaching this. In the conscious, you're approaching from the masculine. In the subconscious, it's the feminine. And so consciously, you're aware of the struggle that's going on. But I feel like your focus is external rather than internal. Figure on the Nine of Wands, the conscious mind is looking out. The figure on the Three of Swords is looking inward. She's got her head down and she's kind of doing that. So the answer, just skip right to the answer. Four of Swords is looking inward, rebalancing inward. Our Four of Wands is the event in the past that precipitated this circumstance. What I think what the Four of Wands is a false sense of security, a false sense of stability. So again, when we're wearing all the right things and we're saying all the right things and behaving the right way, rather than listening to ourselves and doing what we want to do, we get a false sense of belonging. And that's what I feel has kicked off this whole soul searching that you find yourself doing. Advice from the higher self is Three of Pentacles, which says, even though you're going through this hardship right now, this hard process, you are on the right path. You are connecting with your soul purpose. You are connecting with your reason for being here. The Three of Wands is actually a very encouraging feminine card. So rather than Three of Swords, we've got Three of Pentacles. You see? So this is where this heart is, this is where the emotions are, but this is where your higher self is, saying this is actually part of our path. This is part of us learning how to discern what is right and what is wrong. And because you're feeling so betrayed, it means that you're actually starting to listen to that little voice of intuition that little voice telling you something was off. You're starting to listen, and it's like when you finally start to listen, you realize how much you haven't listened. And so the gravity, the weight of all of those unanswered or unheard instincts kind of comes rushing at you, and you're like, oh my God, look at all of these times I betrayed myself. I thought it was just a few, but it was all of these times. And it can be very overwhelming. But you're on the process of moving this forward, moving this together. Now, from the outside world, we have 8 of Cups. And so this is likely talking about changing something in your environment, moving to a new place, moving, leaving, departing where you have been. Just keep in mind that right now your work is internal. 4 of Swords. This is trying to get your inner self sorted out so that you don't feel betrayed by yourself anymore. So that you feel that you and your insides and everything is in alignment, creating your future. That's the other message of the 3 of Pentacles: mind, body, and soul. Those 3 turtles around her head, all of those have to be in alignment. And right now you're coming to the process of aligning your mind with your soul. Okay, and it's processing through your body. So that's what we're really talking about here. When everything is aligned, mind, body, and soul, then we know that we're moving forward. We know that we are stepping forward on our soul path. Half of the work we do on the soul path is getting all those 3 things in alignment, right? The soul might know what it wants, but the mind's not on board yet. Or the mind thinks it wants a different thing, but the soul says, actually, no, we're going this way. Usually the body is where we feel the tension between the 2. So any kind of anxiety or stomach upset or headaches or kind of physical maladies are usually a sign that your mind and your soul are at odds, or they're just not in a row yet. They're not lined up yet. 9 of Cups is your desire with this. And we've had, as I've said, we've had a lot of pairs. So we've had the double 9s. We've had the double 4s. Okay, we've also had double 3s. So 3s, double 4, so 3, 6, 8, 9. Interesting. Not sure what the message is for that yet. Okay, but the 9 of Cups is saying that you recognize that you're so close to having your heart's desire, and you really want to fulfill your heart's desire because you know that there would be so much peace in that heart's desire. So I do feel like you're ready to heal, that you're ready to process through this. And what was our Magician doing? Why was the Magician here? Okay, the Magician is here because this has been a reading about seeking power. And power comes from the inside. True power comes from the inside. False power comes from the outside. You know, I have more money, I have more resources, I have more title, I have more, I'm more right to be here. That's all external. Internal power is, I know who I am, I know why I'm doing what I'm doing, I know what my heart, my mind, my soul wants, body's in there too. I know myself. That's true power. And that is where you are headed, Queen of Swords. Knowing yourself and being unafraid to speak the truth about yourself. Now, interesting that I left mind, body, and soul. I said nothing about heart there. I said heart for the Magician. Queen of Swords has an interesting relation to her heart. She intellectually knows how to align with what's in there, but she doesn't often feel it, because going from the thoughts to the feelings, that's a bit of a that's more of a jump. Whereas the Queen of Wands, it's more connected. Her mind and her heart are more connected because her heart language, her passion is so strong. Queen of Swords has a different kind of power because she's channeling divine wisdom, where this one is channeling pure source spirit energy, vitality, if that makes more sense there. So Queen of Swords says that you're taking back your independence, you're taking back your own way of doing things, and it's like not just your security, but your, how do I put this into English? It's something like just knowing that you have the right to be there, knowing you have the right to think what you want to think, regardless of what anyone else is saying, knowing that you have the right to stand up for yourself, no matter if it goes against the grain or with the grain. There's a unicorn horn on that's her sword, which I think is really interesting, because unicorn is all about purity, and it's the masculine purity, right? Because it's the horn. So I think that through this whole process, you're really going through a purification, that as the feminine becomes more healed, the masculine in itself gets purified also. And what does that specifically mean? What does it mean for the masculine to be purified? It means that the masculine doesn't hesitate to defend the feminine. Because before in the psyche, the masculine sees the feminine as weak, or the feminine would try to overpower the masculine. It depends on what's going on in your astrological chart, whether you're feminine or masculine energy dominant. But point is that when I watch parents, you have certain parents that disregard their kids' feelings just automatically. Like the kid comes crying to them and they're like, oh, you're fine. Then you have parents that overreact. Like when the kid is mad at something, then the parent is also mad at that. Then you have kind of the wise parent that when the kid runs crying, the parent listens and listens very deeply and figures out, is this a problem within my own kid? Are they, upset from the outside? Is there a problem with the outside? Where is the problem? They're not reactive, but they're not neglectful. They're present. And if the kid just needs to be comforted and it really wasn't anyone else's fault, then the parent responds accordingly. If the parent needs to go and talk to another parent or talk to a kid or kind of assert some boundaries or discipline, the parent does that. That's what I feel is going to happen here. So the child is like the inner feminine, the parent is like the masculine. Meaning that when your feminine senses something is wrong, the masculine doesn't disregard it. It doesn't overreact to it. It doesn't then lash out. It listens to it. It sits with it. It says, okay, what are you really saying? And there's this respect that forms between your feminine and masculine. And we're finally back to here now. There's this respect that forms. And it's like, the feminine respects the masculine because the masculine will always stand up for it. The masculine respects the feminine because it understands the limitations of itself. It can't always sense what's in the undercurrent. It can't always sense the intuition because divine masculine is more logic-based. So it's truly a coming together of those two elements. And you may see that within yourself. You may be seeing that in your relationship with another person. But ultimately, I do believe we're talking about the self because it is our job to balance our divine masculine and feminine within ourselves and then within our relationships and then within the rest of the world. Okay, so I just want to go back to this Nine of Cups for a second because there's one more message. So she's got throat chakra, crown, heart. So it's just missing the crown. She's got the third eye, but not the crown. That's not significant, though. It's interesting because she's got these heart little charms on her, and the biggest one is at her heart. And I think that's really at to understand that this is what's at the base of this whole thing. Three of Swords, 3 times 3 is 9, and I think there's a connection between these two cards. That this is about desiring the heart, your heart being healed, but it's not just about like forgiving the other person or forgiving yourself or opening your heart kind of indiscriminately. It's actually that the heart is healed through this relationship between your inner feminine and your inner masculine. It's like the two sides of the heart. One is masculine, one is your feminine, and they're trying to come together. And this is the process through which it happens. So this is definitely recognizing that you are trying to heal your own heart, but what is the correct process to do that? Okay, how do you heal your heart? This time it's not through forgiveness of another and forgiveness of yourself. It's through understanding the connection, I want to say the buoyancy and the balance of the masculine and feminine. Okay, if you have questions about these concepts, please let me know in the comments below. You can always reach out to my email, soulguidancewithAdriana.com, or no, sorry, @gmail.com. I do offer SoulPath Mastery for those who are really wanting to align, again, mind, body, and soul together. So we can do that through astrology, we can do that through tarot, we can do that through a blend. So if you would like to check out my offerings to see if they are what you're looking for, please visit soulguidancewithAdriana.com, and I'll see you soon.